Hello, and what is up, you guys? My name is Sai, and today we are going to be going through Chapter 1123's comment section and just seeing what people are talking about. So with that being said, let's get to it. Alright, so the first comment says, the story isn't meant to show Yamato traveling throughout Wano, it is merely to get her out of the capital for when Blackbeard comes. And right below that, they say the last part of the cover page story, Yamato will see a ship coming with a 3-skulled flag. I love that no matter which way this goes, we can all agree that Blackbeard is coming to Wano, right? If somebody's coming here, it's definitely Blackbeard, and then, of course, it's gonna be Cross-Guild, right? Because Cross-Guild also needs that road poneglyph. But yes, as far as Yamato traveling throughout Wano, it's been an interesting cover page story thus far, simply because we are 11 volumes deep, and Yamato is still at the very first stop of her journey. She's only in Kibi. You know, Yamato has to travel all around Wano. This is the first destination. So in regards to that, I do like the thought that this has a double purpose. And, you know, like by the time she makes it back to the flower capital, it's destroyed. But I don't think this is going to be the case. And the reason why is because when our Maki showed up, Admiral Green Bull, Yamato was one of the first responders when it came to stopping him from arriving to the capital. So if Blackbeard and his crew shows up to Wano, I feel like Yamato and even the Scabbards would be able to sense his presence and try to intercept him before he makes it to the capital. So while I like this idea, I don't 100% agree with it. I agree with the portion that Blackbeard is going to come and that will be like the main payoff to this cover page story, but I don't think he'll be able to make it onto the island without getting through Yamato. Okay, wait, scratch that. It is possible if they have Van Augur because he can just teleport, right? But when you think about it, Blackbeard doesn't need to go to the capital. All he has to do is break down the borders of Wano. So he technically doesn't even have to set foot on the island. He can just break the borders with the Guruguru no Mi and then just go to ancient Wano, steal Pluton and the road poneglyph and get the heck out of there. Because the road poneglyph isn't even in the capital, right? Like everything is in ancient Wano. So the minute he breaks that border, it's open season. Outside of Blackbeard though, I still am rooting for Cross-Guild to come and get the road poneglyph as well. And as far as Buggy goes, I feel like if he does show up in Yamato's cover page story, he's not going to be a threat to Wano. Because Buggy does have close ties with a lot of the samurai here. He's been here before. So I do think if Buggy were to come, it would be a really nice and wholesome moment. It would kind of be like when Gaimon met Buggy, right? First, we had Luffy meeting Gaimon, and they were good friends. And then afterwards, Buggy met Gaimon, and they were also good friends. So I could see the same thing happening here with Yamato, where Yamato meets Buggy, and then they share a couple of stories. They talk about Ace, they talk about Luffy, and they talk about adventuring and Odin. And I could actually see them getting along in a weird way. Which, I know this is a Blackbeard-oriented comment, but Buggy, guys. Buggy's pretty cool too. Alright, so the next comment says, Vegapunk finding out everything and saying, what? Gave me such Queen vibes, lol. Maybe that's where Queen got it from. And then below that, they say, I clicked faster than Dragon turning his head to the east. Wow, would you look at that? We got 2 joke comments back to back. So as far as the first one goes, I think that could be the case, or we could even reverse it and say that is where Vegapunk got it, right? Maybe that was Queen's shtick, and that Vegapunk simply stole it from him, right? Maybe Queen had a little bit of influence on him. As far as Dragon turning his head east, you can't turn your head to where your head's already facing, brother. You know, Dragon's always looking east. He doesn't have to snap it over, man. He's already there. He's already there. All right, so the next comment says, Sanji versus Kizaru has to happen. Sanji is the only one who knows that Vegapunk planned to die. I'm 90% sure we'll get a callback to this and a reveal that Vegapunk asked his friend Kizaru to be the one to do it. To be the one to pull the trigger and kill him. He didn't say the last part, I added that one in. But yes, I absolutely love this. And this right here is something I didn't even think about in the slightest. But yes, this does make a lot of sense. It explains why Kizaru, throughout Egghead Island, never wanted to kill Vegapunk, right? He said it before, like, oh, you know, I wish I didn't have to do this, or, ooh, I don't like doing this, and every time he breaks something, you know, you see Kizaru, they shade his eyes, and he looks really sad. You know, there's even a scene where he's like, I should have brought a darker pair of sunglasses, right? Kizaru did not want to kill Vegapunk, but he still did. Kizaru put in 110% effort when it came to killing his friend Vegapunk. If it turns out that Vegapunk told Kizaru to kill him, then it would make so much sense as to why Kizaru was so motivated to do it despite not wanting to do it, right? I feel like this would perfectly explain his whole character here, and it would add an extra layer of depth, not just to Kizaru, but to Vegapunk as well. And, you know, just thinking back to the beginning of Egghead Island, when Vegapunk knew he was going to die, he called Dragon. He called Dragon and said, hey, brother, I'm going to be dying pretty soon, right? So it makes sense that he would call Kizaru, another good friend of his that he has spent a lot of time with. So yeah, I love this comment, and I could totally see this happening, man. And let's go and read the comment right below it. They say, wouldn't that be a nice loop around? Kizaru helping out an old friend and committing to his own justice, helping Vegapunk's message spread throughout the world by killing him without arousing any suspicion from the world government, thinking he was just doing his duty. And then the Sanji versus Kizaru fight, I agree, has to happen. As far as Sanji versus Kizaru, I'm not exactly there yet. I could see it. I feel like if there were any Straw Hat to fight Kizaru, it would be Sanji. The only thing that holds me back is that in this scenario, they would both technically be on the same side, right? Sanji knew that Vegapunk had to die, Kizaru knew that Vegapunk had to die, and they just played their roles. So if Sanji were to fight Kizaru, I feel like there needs to be another reason. You know, I mean, then again, Kizaru still is a government dog, so maybe that's why they fight. And if they do fight, yeah, Sanji would be the perfect matchup, and then Zoro would go against Fujitora, and then we'd have Luffy, obviously, versus Akainu, which would be a repeat of the Dressrosa opening, where Toei animated exactly that, which is kind of funny. And you know, now that I think about it, another reason why I do like Sanji versus Kizaru, of course, we had that scene on Egghead Island where Sanji kicked the laser beam and Kizaru was like super shocked. I think that was great. But since Sanji is a product of science and, you know, Jerma technology, I think it would be cool if Kizaru had to fight him out of everybody simply because of the science aspect, since Kizaru is tied to Egghead Island and Vegapunk. You know, it'd be like a clashing of scientific people? Alright, so the next comment says, I feel like Lilith is going to play a big role in the Elbaf arc. There's a reason Vegapunk survived, and especially her. As far as especially, I'm not sure why yet. I do like Lilith the most, you know, because of her assets, but outside of that, I'm not too sure what she has to offer. Somebody did say in the last video that Lilith is the most pirate-like Vegapunk, and that is a double entendre as to why she survived, and I like that idea. But as far as like what Lilith can provide that the other Vegapunks can't, I don't have a clear answer for that yet, but I do agree that she will play a big role. She's still a Vegapunk, she still is connected to Punk Records, and she's intelligent, right? I mean, the Giants of Elbaf, these guys are playing with sticks and stones. I could see Lilith easily upgrading their arsenal, or even upgrading the Straw Hats arsenal, right? We saw what Usopp was able to do to Nami's climb attack back in the day. You know, we saw what Frankie was able to do with Vegapunk blueprints. So now that they have the actual person here, now that they have a Vegapunk on board, I'm expecting some really good things. So I completely agree with you. As far as why her specifically out of all of the Vegapunks, I'm not super sure yet. All right, so going to the comment right below it. Oh, wow, that's a crazy Frankie profile picture. Is that Frankie with black hair? Oh, that is. That's kind of scary, dude. Frankie with black hair. Oh my god. Oh my god. So they say, I think it makes the most sense that the scientists from Witheria are going to receive the cloudloft technology. They seem like good guys, and they have the most means to travel. Fellow scientists to Vegapunk, and are familiar with similar technologies already. And then right below it, they say, I think Witheria already is using ancient technology. And I love that Witheria's technology is literally just rope and balloons. But then again, since that's all we have from Joy Boy and Emeth, yeah, they could be using ancient technology, right? You know, when you think about the Void Century, you don't exactly think of Haki rope. So if you were to tell me that Witheria is using ancient kingdom technology and it's just more rope and balloons, I would actually agree. So as far as giving Witheria cloudloft technology, I do think that is a possibility. There's only one problem with this for me, and it's not even like a problem, but it's more like a nitpick, right? Because there's so many good groups that could get cloudloft, but the only thing holding me back from giving it to Witheria is the fact that they already have their own proprietary idea when it comes to bringing people to Sky Islands, and that's their balloon technology, right? We saw in Nami's time skip arc that they just go down with balloons, they bring people up with balloons, they have Sky Islands that float on balloons already. So I think giving them cloudloft technology, not like it would be meaningless, but I just feel like they already have their own means to an end, and that is their balloons, right? To my understanding, they can already make other Sky Islands with those balloons. So I don't think they need cloudloft. I don't think they're a bad option since they, like you said, they are familiar with this technology, they're good people, and they can travel around the world. But I just feel like it would be a little bit redundant if we were to give it to them. Personally, I'm starting to lean towards the Straw Hats having it, but we'll see. I don't think Wither is a bad option. You know, I'm not trying to like dismiss this at all. Like, I like it. I just have like certain nitpicks, and I have nitpicks with every group too. Like, I have nitpicks with Dragon because when would Vegapunk give it a Dragon? I have nitpicks with Judge and Caesar because they're not good people. You know, I feel like this is a hard one, but Wither is not a bad pick. Actually, we have a reply to this comment, and I want to read this out too. So they say, I agree. I think Nami is the best character to take the Cloudloft technology and bring it to Witheria. This is not the first time the Straw Hats had to separate for important missions. Plus, the Knot Thingy was first introduced in Witheria. I think these two plots are related in some way. It would be cool to see Nami fly over there with Zeus on her way to Witheria too. Haha. So, yes. See, this is kind of where I separate though, right? I think the Straw Hats have Cloudloft, and I think Nami is a good reason why the Straw Hats would have this, and why Witheria doesn't exactly need it, right? I think Nami could stay with the Straw Hats, and we just expand on the Cloudloft while we're on the Thousand Sunny, rather than take Nami and, you know, send her to Witheria to do all this. I think we're all on the right train. It's just like, how do we piece together this puzzle? But yeah, a lot of great ideas here, a lot of good inputs, and thank you guys for the comments. I feel like I don't say that enough, but hey, I really appreciate all these thoughts, right? You know, I think that is when One Piece is at its best, when we all come together and throw our ideas out there. This is like a scissoring formation, but you know what I mean. Alright, so this one says, the Giants' comment about Shanks' Haki and Joy Boy's Haki kind of suggests that the Gorosei's Haki is notably weaker than Shanks, which I expected, but it's kind of nice to have that be confirmed. I didn't even think about that. That's kind of funny. Yeah, Dorian Brogy, they didn't say, whoa, this is way better than the Gorosei. No, they kind of just put Shanks at that bar. But yeah, like you said, it's kind of what we expected, right? Like the Gorosei, they have Conqueror's Haki, but they haven't shown any Conqueror's Haki feat that's mind-blowing thus far. I think Warkudi had the best showing when he like yelled and then people started passing out along the shoreline, but the only people that passed out due to Warkudi's yell were his own people. Brother, 5 Marines passed out. None of the Straw Hats passed out. None of the Giants passed out, right? So yeah, I do think Shanks has that top-tier Haki alongside Joy Boy. And the Gorosei, not like they haven't looked great with their Conqueror's Haki, but I do think there is a lot of room for improvement when it comes to those guys. All right, so this one says, technically, 29,999 Marines are down since Saturn killed that one Marine that looked at him. Dude, these Gorosei, man. The more you think about it, the sillier it gets, but he's completely right. The Gorosei have been knocking out their own people left and right. And then it gets even funnier when you remember that they started the Buster Call while Marines were still on the island. I'll never forget the scene, but when Luffy's eating food from the vending machine, right? You had a bunch of Marines, they were lining up their guns at him. They were like, oh, should we shoot him? Should we handcuff him? Right? Like, they were about to take down Luffy. Well, not take him down, but, you know, they were ready to fight Luffy. But guess what happened? Luffy didn't fight these guys. No, these guys got blown up by their own Buster Call. They got hit by cannon fire. The Marines are their own worst enemy, dude. It's insane. So JD Rich below this says, if you're reading this, Vegapunk, it's too late. Rest in peace, Vegapunk. All right, so what do we have right here? Maybe Smoker is delivering the Cloud Loft technology to Dragon. As wild as that is, Smoker is the only Marine that's been on the same panel as Dragon and already has a psychological feelings with Dragon. I feel like I totally misread that. philosophical, there we go. With Stella and Dragon being close, Stella could have had a deep conversation with Smoker about what the revolutionaries are doing. So for the first time in the show, Smoker splits with his partner because he doesn't want her to know what he's doing because it's against the world government. Not bad. And yeah, I mean, like I said, there's a lot of good options. I think Smoker's another great option alongside Witheria, alongside the Straw Hats. And that's simply because Smoker is actually delivering something, right? We don't know what's in the box behind him when we last saw him, but he had something back there. So yeah, that could have honestly been the cloudloft technology. As far as delivering it to Dragon, though, that's not bad. I need to see more, right? I do agree that Smoker is a good person, just like Dragon, but will they see eye to eye and work together? I guess that's the main thing, right? Like, I like the idea, but if this were to happen, we'd have to spend like a good half chapter just kind of explaining it, you know, showing the developments and everything. All right, so this comment says, I really hope Usopp gets the shine in Elbaf. Maybe get some power-ups in Haki or Hex. Better yet, eat a devil fruit. Elbaf has been hyped up forever to be Usopp's arc, and hopefully it won't disappoint like with Frankie in Egghead or Zoro in Wano, which didn't get much attention in my opinion. So I've seen this before, right? I am not the number one, but I'm up there when it comes to hyping Usopp up for Elbaf. You know, I'm one of those guys like, oh, Usopp's gonna get this in Elbaf, Usopp's gonna get that in Elbaf. That's me, no joke, but I'm actually in the process of making another Usopp and Elbaf video that'll come out next week, you know, self-promo. But as far as why Frankie didn't get a shine in Egghead or why Zoro didn't get a shine in Wano, I think these are very different from Usopp in Elbaf. And the reason why is because Elbaf, in my opinion, is directly tied to Usopp's dream. Usopp, ever since day one, you know, ever since he learned of Elbaf's existence, he wanted to go there to become a brave warrior of the sea. That is what he said back in Little Garden, right? So his dream has always been tied to that. Whereas Frankie's dream is to simply sail the Thousand Sunny around the world. Frankie always liked Dr. Vegapunk, but Dr. Vegapunk was never his dream, all right? And then same with Zoro. Zoro wants to become the world's greatest swordsman, but that has nothing to do with Wano. Wano's a nice side destination, right? Don't get me wrong. Zoro got a new sword in Wano. Zoro got some good feats in Wano, but it was never his dream to go there. For Usopp, this is his dream. And in 1123, the last chapter, Usopp literally says, Elbaf is the land of my dreams. We're going there. So that is why I'm more confident that Usopp will get his shine there, more than Frankie on Egghead or Zoro in Wano, for example. But also, as far as Zoro and Wano goes, I could totally see Zoro retiring to Wano, you know, spending some time with Hiyori, you know, hanging out with Momonosuke. So, you know, I feel like Wano hasn't lost significance yet. And same with Frankie and Egghead, right? As far as Frankie and Egghead goes, we still have Lilith. We still have boxes that belong to Dr. Vegapunk on the ship. So there is a chance that if we stop and smell the roses in Elbaf, Frankie will get some upgrades via Lilith or whatever we have on the ship right now. So yeah, I don't think it's too late for these guys. And I do believe in Usopp. As far as power-ups go, you know, I'm not one of those guys who just wants to like gatekeep it, but you know, I have a couple of ideas. I think he could, you know, maybe get a new weapon. I think he could get a devil fruit, or we learn about how devil fruits get infused into objects, because we did not learn that here on Egghead Island. So I do think there's a chance that maybe his Kabuto gets a devil fruit, or maybe whatever weapon he gets on Elbaf has a devil fruit in it. But yeah, I think this is great overall. And let me see, what does the comment below say? Me too. Oh, whoa, this is a big one. Oh my God. When I click show more, sometimes I'm like, okay, how long is this gonna be? Me too. It'd be a tough fit with everything plot-wise moving on, but considering how long Oda's planned and teased out Elbaf, I'm hoping he's reserved some A-tier drama-struggle saved for Usopp. I'm always craving some Straw Hat-centric conflict. I'd love it if Oda could cook up some Water 7 level Usopp character arc that really gets into the meat of his dream. What does Usopp mean by brave warrior? And how will he recognize himself as one? Maybe his relationship to Usopp will come into play here. Since Oda's been obviously highlighting the significance of Usopp's bond with the Giants again, I can only hope that's a sign for the greatness to come. So as far as Usopp goes, I think we will get a lot in terms of Usopp, and that's because of how much time Red Hair and his crew probably spend there. There's a lot of speculation that Elbaf is straight up Shanks' territory. If that is true, then I guarantee you there are a lot of giants on that island who know about Usopp. So I wouldn't be shocked if by the time we hit Elbaf, Usopp will hear about how great his old man is, and Usopp will feel the need to live up to his father's shoes. Kind of like back in Logtown, right? We saw Daddy Masterson, and he was like, oh, you're Usopp's kid? Well, Usopp could do this, you know, can you do it? And then Usopp did it. I feel like we could get that exact same thing here in Elbaf. As far as Brave Warrior of the Sea goes, I am also interested in that too, because Usopp, like I said, his dream is to become a brave warrior. What does that mean? Because technically, Usopp is worth 500 million. To most people, Usopp is already a brave warrior. So it has to do with how he views it, right? Is it to lose his cowardice? Is it to stop lying? Is it to not run from a fight? We're not exactly sure yet. But I do think it could even tie back to Onigashima, because during Onigashima, when Nami and Usopp were fighting Page 1 and Ulti, Usopp was running, and then at one point, he even told Nami to just lie about Luffy's dream and how he would never become king of the pirates, right? Maybe the development for Usopp and what it means to be a brave warrior is to not say that and to stick to his guns and just not lie in these scenarios. He can lie like on the daily, but you know, when it comes to big fights that test his courage and his might, maybe that's where he has to kick that to the curb, and that's what it means to be a brave warrior. But of course, we don't know yet because Usopp doesn't really talk too much about it. Oh, Sai, I felt so bad for you when I saw Pomsky and Doll unconscious. I remember you were so hyped up last chapter when we thought they were able to resist Joy Boy's Haki. This made the whole chapter worth it for me, brother. How dare you laugh at me? Yeah, I mean, I had people messaging me. They were like, hey, Sai, look, it's Doll and Pomsky. They're out. It's like, brother, why? Why did Oda do this to me? You know, I get it, right? It's hype. You know, Joy Boy, put him up there. Sure, why not? But at the cost of Doll and Pomsky, man. And here's the thing, too, right? Like, there's a couple of Vice Admirals on this island that didn't even do anything, bro. What about Hound? Hound! The dude was barking orders. He was the guy who, when Vegapunk was giving his message, Hound was the Vice Admiral that said, Vegapunk, stop lying to us! And guess what? After that, we never saw him again. And, you know, like, we don't see him unconscious in this chapter, but you can already assume he is. Or you can be like me, and you believe that Hound is chasing the Straw Hats down and he's gonna give them what for. Yeah, just kidding. All the VAs are done. I mean, all 9 of them are cooked. We don't even know where Doberman is, right? Was he destroyed by the Giants? We don't know yet. You know, like, it might have just been an off-screen event. These VAs have disappointed me every single twist and turn. It's so sad, man. At some point, we're gonna get a really good Vice Admiral feat, but it's not today. It's not today. I think the best thing a Vice Admiral has ever done in the series was stab themselves. And I'm not joking when I say that. But the only thing that the Vice Admirals have under their belt is when Momonga was able to resist Boa Hancock's Devil Fruit by stabbing his hand. You know, his whole crew stoned up, bricked. But Momonga just stabbed his hand, and that is one of those moments in One Piece that you'll never forget. But also, it's kind of silly because that means that if he didn't stab his hand, he would have been turned to stone. So yeah. Also, I don't count Garp as a Vice Admiral. Garp is an absolute monster, so yeah, no. Galaxy Impact is not something the average Vice Admiral can do. So I don't count it. I don't count it. All right, so this comment says, man, I want to be mad at York. But it's not really her fault that Vegapunk decided to make a whole-ass person out of greed. Seems like a self-inflicted wound, honestly. Yeah. I mean, you know, I talked about it earlier too, but not just greed, but Vegapunk made a persona out of evil and violence alongside greed. Why? Like, well, I mean, I guess it makes sense because if he didn't do that, all of those emotions would be inside himself, and maybe having all of those negative emotions in one person is just bad and it wouldn't work out well, and that's fair. But maybe you make the greed persona and then you take it to the back of the barn and just put him down, you know, like only have the good personas out there. It's kind of like how we have the Boa Hancock Seraphim, we have the Kuma Seraphim, the Mihawk Seraphim, the Jinbei Seraphim. And then we have the crocodile, Doflamingo, and Gecko Moria Seraphim. Like, you know, you can't have good without evil. So maybe that's the takeaway here. The world is balanced, and that's how it'll always be. A yin and yang, so to say. All right, I think this one's actually kind of funny. Emma's bounty after Egghead Island is going to be huge. Yeah, the Enma hype. Frankie's new bounty will be a picture of Emmeth. Dude, the new bounties, man. These predictions are crazy. All right, so the comment below says, I think he left his faith in the Straw Hats because of how Kuma saw him. I believe he talked to Vegapunk. Also, he's Dragon's son, and maybe he was told about how they helped the children at Punk Hazard. And yeah, not just that, but we can compile a lot more onto it. Like, Vegapunk saw that Luffy is the White Warrior, the Sun God Nika, he has the Will of D, he has the $1 Million Smile. Like, I'll admit, if you put all the pirates in One Piece in front of me, and if I knew all of their feats, I probably would bet on Luffy too, right? Alright, so the next comment says, people saying this makes the Vegapunk broadcast better? If anything, this is more damning. Vegapunk knows exactly that the world government destroyed Lucia, knows that they enslaved people and committed genocide against certain races. He knows they're the ones who made Kuma and Bonnie suffer, and still, he wouldn't stand on business and let the general public know how evil the world government is. He meandered for 15 chapters, and it gave 2 or 3 actual interesting points, but wouldn't call the world government out or wasn't willing to assert with confidence that they're bad actors. Rather, the smartest man just whines about why Roger didn't do something. I don't know. I'm extremely disappointed in the Vegapunk broadcast and what we actually learned from it. Weekly Reader, since like 06, Vegapunk was talked about since Alabasta. We deserved more substance and less jump around the world and seeing people react. I'm 50-50 with this one. I agree that we could have gotten more interesting bullet points because, to be honest, we knew like 90% of that message already. So it really was just a message to the world and not really us, the audience. So in that regards, yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed by that too. And as far as jumping around the world, I'm on the fence with this one. I like getting reactions around the world, but I don't think we needed reactions from certain places, right? You know, show me Hachinosu, show me like the big characters like Shanks, Dragon, you know, Buggy, Crocodile, all of them. Even the reaction from Fishman Island, Shirahoshi, wasn't that bad in my opinion. It was more so like the repeated reactions like Leo and Rebecca, which I didn't really care for too much. And then of course we had a couple of random towns that I doubt we'll ever see in the story. So yeah, in that regards, I think the people reacting portion of it was 50-50 depending on who we got. But outside of that, though, as far as Vegapunk meandering, he kind of explained why he didn't damn them right away, or at least damn them 100%. And that's simply because he said he didn't know the full history of the Void Century, so he doesn't want to say who's right or who's wrong. And that's kind of like his whole thing, right? He only wants to tell you what he knows for certain. He only wants to tell you what he knows 100%. While he does know that, you know, obviously they destroyed certain races, they beat up Kuma, beat up Bonnie, destroyed their lives, he doesn't know why. Right? Like, he doesn't know the full scope of the world government. Even in this chapter, he says that the more he learns about the world government, the cloudier his judgment gets on them. So I think that's kind of just what it is. If Vegapunk were to go on and just give his opinion, I bet, yeah, he would say that the world government are a bunch of shitheads. But as it stands right now, he just doesn't have enough information to actually say that with his chest. Maybe I'm just coping for Vegapunk, but I could actually see where he's coming from with this message. But as far as like us, the audience, getting new information, I totally agree. Like, we did not get that much. I remember getting the Roger chapter, and, you know, a part of me was like, oh, cool, you know, Roger, that's awesome. But at the same time, I was like, okay, we already knew this, dude. Like, you know, all in all, I'm pretty divided on how I feel about it. I feel like I liked it, but that's simply because we got a lot alongside it. You know, we had Luffy fighting the Gorosei still. We had Egghead Island progressing. I do like that Oda didn't just focus on the message every chapter per se. Like, it fell in line with other events, and I think that's what made it more digestible. But of course, you know, like, I want to see how Egghead Island reads a year from now or in the anime, right? I feel like anime pacing here could get pretty crazy, but I'm holding out my judgment for that one. So yeah, all in all, I think this is a very valid opinion. I have seen people saying that they don't like Vegapunk's message, and I like that you kind of elaborated on why you didn't like it, right? You didn't just say, hey, I hate this, and then that's it, right? You gave your reasonings, and I honestly really respect it. And like I said, I'm 50-50. I can see where you're coming from. I'm not 100% there, but I see it. I see it. All right, so this right here will be the last comment we're going to be reading today. And the reason why, I wish I could keep this going a little bit longer, but as you can see, the sun is out. It's shining through my window blinds, and it's not because it's the middle of the day. No, it's because... Can I do this? It's because it's 8:48 a.m. I have not slept yet, so I want to go to bed. But yeah, the last comment says, about going back. If I were Oda, I would make Luffy choose between a Nakama and the One Piece. Imagine if Luffy punching Arlong came at the price of Luffy's dream. Now that's peak, because Luffy wouldn't hesitate. Nakama first, baby. And no, I 100% agree. As far as Luffy finding the One Piece versus, you know, saving a Nakama, 10 out of 10 scenarios, Luffy would pick the Nakama. I think that's pretty apparent, and as far as this comment goes, I could totally see it, right? If Vivi is captured, I could see Luffy going after her, and he actually wanted to go after her back when we were about to arrive on Egghead Island, right? Luffy read the newspaper, and he said, hey, Vivi's missing? Let's go to Alabasta. But Zoro told him no. Like, first off, it's kind of silly, and second off, Vivi's missing, so that's why they didn't go. So yeah, if Luffy had a Nakama in danger, 1000% he would put his journey on hold to save them. I'm not too sure who this is in reference to, but at the end of the day, I do agree with it. But yeah, this does make me curious to see where Garp falls in this realm, right? As far as the Nakama goes, right? Like Zoro, Sanji, Nami, all of them, he would ride or die. But for Garp, how would Luffy feel? Right? If news hits Luffy that Garp is captured by Blackbeard on Hachinosu, would Luffy stop what he's doing and save his grandpa? That's up in the air, brother. That one is up in the air. But yeah, Vivi, the rest of the Straw Hats, I could totally see it happening. And one line I like to remind people about, and this seems a little bit silly, and it was 1000% a gag, but back at Jaya, when Luffy was with Chopper and Usopp and they were walking through the forest, Luffy found a beetle. And there's a really significant line there, which I think will come into play later on. But Chopper asked Luffy, what's more important, this beetle or the One Piece? Literally the One Piece. And Luffy could not answer. Luffy literally rubbed his chin and he said, ooh, that's a hard one. So yeah, I mean, I do think there are more things that Luffy values over the One Piece. But he wants to find the One Piece because he can become the most free person in the world. So yeah, it's not the end all be all, but it's up there. But of course, he prioritizes Nakama above all else. And you know what? This was a very wholesome comment to end off on. Look at that. We picked it right. You guys have a great night. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video with me. I really freaking appreciate it. And I will catch you guys when the One Piece spoilers and/or chapter releases. My name is Sai, and I'm signing out. Peace.